Hello and welcome to my masterclass on the service revolution and its implications for strategic services marketing. So this masterclass will be two parts. The first part, I will talk about how all of that technology that is happening right now will change how we deliver and consume services. And the second part will focus, so what is the implication for service businesses in the service revolution? So what are the strategic implications for you, all the senior managers running these companies? My name is Jochen Witz. I am Professor of Marketing and Vice Dean MBA Programs at the NUS Business School, National University of Singapore. Now, why am I so excited about the service revolution? And it's precisely because what I believe is that everything is coming together now. Our economies are at an inflection point. All of the technologies, and whether you think about biometrics, cloud technologies, mobile technologies, robotics, service robots, intelligent automation, machine learning, natural language processing, autonomous driving, and all of these things, they're getting more powerful, better, cheaper, smaller, almost by the month. And I truly believe, if you look back 50 years from now, that we will say, wow, in the 2020s, that is really when the service revolution gathered pace. So what we had the agricultural revolution that gave us food at very affordable prices. So in most developing and developed countries, what you will see is that people can work less and less and less to buy the basic food they need. The Industrial Revolution brought us mass manufactured goods to the masses. So in most middle classes around the world, they can afford all the goods they need for their daily lives. And what we are having now is the same for the service sector. We have an insatiable demand in healthcare, in education, in leisure, hospitality, tourism. But these services have in common that they're actually quite expensive and not often very affordable. You think about healthcare, you think about education. There are needs all over the world. And I believe that the next 50 years will make these services very affordable for most people on this planet. And I will share with you in the first part of the section why I believe this to be the case. Now, of course, such dramatic changes in the service sector will have equally dramatic implications for service strategy. Before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't have modern marketing. So all of the stuff we are doing today in our economies, that is, for example, branding, advertising, packaging, distribution, pricing strategies that didn't exist before the Industrial Revolution. So what will the service revolution bring? And this is what I will share with you here today. So let me go to the first part, which is really about the technology and how that affects the service sector, service delivery, service products. So let me look at the first thing is the overarching term to call all of this technology is really intelligent automation. That includes all of the technology I just mentioned, RPA, IPAs, ChatGPT, all of these things are intelligent automation. And there are really four capabilities that this automation will bring us. And it's a bit like the senses of humans. So we have vision. So somehow you have to get the environment and things into digital format, into our computers and systems. So that is character recognition, it is biometrics, it is facial recognition. So anything you see where a camera picks up things and then the system translates that into bits and bytes. So it's the vision capability. The next is execution. So we have to execute and do stuff. So for example, if I'm a fintech and I want to issue a digital credit card to one of my customers, I have to do the creditworthiness assessment and all of those things. And at the end, I have to issue a legally binding contract and a credit card you can put onto your smartphone and then pay. Yeah? So this has to be executed. It is robotic process automation. It is workflow automation. So that's the execution, the doing bit. Then the next capability is language, right? The system has to understand the spoken word, the written word. You as a customer, you don't want to necessarily type in, you want to talk to an AI. Please, I would like to have a credit card with an $8,000 limit on it. And so the natural language processing, ChatGPT, that's all under the language bit here. And the last capability is thinking and learning. Yeah, this is analytics, machine learning. So how do I improve algorithms on, let's say, creditworthiness assessment? I can automate this. So the AI can teach the AI. So it's autonomous machine learning. So I hope you see where we are getting here. We are not talking about a single technology here, but we are talking about integrating all of these capabilities at the customer interface to deliver fully automated processes and services to our customer base. Now, let me sort of paint a bit of a picture where this automation will lead to, where we can use this automation. And there are really three dimensions here. The first one, is that service tangible, physical? Do I have to move or touch things or people? Or is it intangible? Is it information processing type services? That's the first one. The second one, what is the core value proposition of that? Is it emotional and social? Is that what you're really looking for from that service? Or is it more cognitive and analytical? And the third one really is, how often does a process, a service happen? And then each time it happens, how homogeneous or how heterogeneous is it? So let's briefly look at each one of these key dimensions that will determine what type of services will be fully automated. So the first one is the tangible, intangible kind of matrix here, which you can see. And of course, the tangible actions is what gets the media excited, what gets shared on social media as well. You see robots from Boston Dynamics dancing to music, robot dog chasing, doing things, delivering things, and that is all terribly exciting. But the real changes that are happening right now is really in this space of intangible information processing type services. So you think about anything that can be done on an app, on a website, on a call center, or simply by talking to someone. These are information type processes, and these are the services that will be automated the first. Think about it. In the US, one of the fastest shrinking job categories until recently was retail assistants. And why? E-commerce, Amazon, right? So a lot of people, they order online, it gets delivered, they don't go to the shop anymore. And that, of course, then means the shop assistants don't have work anymore. But there's more to this too. But if I go to a shop and I have to decide between two computer screens for my home office, which one do I buy? I actually don't even ask the retail assistant. What I do is I ask Mr. Google. So I Google, what are the reviews for that screen? What are the reviews for the other screen? For what type of purpose is this screen good versus the other screen? So even when I am in the shop, I'm not necessarily talking to retail assistants. So you can see how retail assistants here are being displaced by other technologies. And we haven't even seen the end of it. I predict that in a few years we will have what we call virtual retail assistants beamed from the ceiling. Samsung, for example, will have a worldwide delivery of these holographs, and they speak all the common languages and can tell you all about Samsung products and when to buy which product. Now, there are a lot of services currently delivered by people that will be displaced. And I'll give you one example. We have Changi Airport here in Singapore. Changi Airport has one information counter in every terminal at every level. Now, that is actually very expensive retail space. I have to I could put a Louis Vuitton shop there or make a bigger shop there instead of having an information counter. I have expensive headcount there. And on top of that, it is not terribly convenient for customers either. Why? Look, I may be at one end of the terminal and I would like to ask something, but I would have to go all the way to the center to the information counter to get my answer. I promise you in a few years from now, what we will have at all the major airports in this world is every 50 meters we beam down a digital person, a holograph. And it's very cost effective. All I need is a beamer, a speaker, and a microphone. And this thing is connected to Wi-Fi. And it's powered by something like IBM Watson, plus perhaps ChatGPT. And then this holograph can speak all the common languages, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, German, French, Italian, you name it. And advantage is it is very convenient because it is so cheap that I can put it every 50 meters. It doesn't take any retail space. So for example, in an emergency, you just can push your card through the holograph because it's beamed from the ceiling. It is cheap enough so that I can even put holographs into the car park. Even at Changi Airport, they even know where your car is because they have the number plate recognition. They can even ask, hey, where's my car? Okay, and you can see where we are going with this here. It's cost-effective and great service. And the nice thing is that the whole thing can still be backed up by humans. So I think it's very likely that there will be a control center where all of these holographs in a way report back to and is monitored maybe by 2 or 3 people. And anytime a holograph cannot answer a question, it gets escalated to the human team that is monitoring all of these holographs at a central location. And they will then, through the holograph, speak to the customer and can answer the question. And these kinds of things then also can help to improve and how make the database they have better, how they handle questions to make it better. Okay, so you can see where we're going here. Of course, the tangible actions we see already: baggage robots, room service robots, baristas who make you a coffee, and so on. So that is happening too. So the first dimension really is a tangible versus intangible, and the intangible part of the service revolution is happening at a rapid speed right now. And I can promise you that in a few years, most call center staff will be gone, because call center staff is all about information and doing things on a remote basis here, and we won't need those anymore. In many of my classes, there are always participants and students who ask me, hey, what about the personal touch? You know, if all of these things are delivered by robots and AI, don't we miss people to serve us? And then I always, a bit cynical here, because I say, hey, you know, so you think to you the personal touch is so important. And they say, yeah, it's very important. Then I ask them, so if it's so important, when was the last time when you cashed money that you went to a human teller and not to the ATM? Yeah? And then they say, oh, yes. So why do you go to the ATM? Why? It's 24/7. There are many ATMs there. There's no waiting time there. It's very fast. And you will see that most of the services we have will be the same. They're available all the time. They're very fast. There's no waiting. I mean, you can see if I have to call to a human person in a call center, I have to wait for an agent to be free. There may be office hours and so on. And I can tell you in all of my classes, I always ask, so who in the morning wakes up and says, hey, I'm so excited, I call my credit card company today. Yeah? Nobody wants to call. And the interesting thing is also, the company also doesn't want you to call. Why? Every call is actually quite expensive. So what I've seen, what good companies are doing, they really analyze, why are my customers calling me? And then they work on, how do I design these calls out from my service system? So there are some people who say every call to my call center is a service failure. And why? Because my website, my app didn't answer the question or couldn't do what this customer wanted to do. So how can we fix this? So one of the leading banks I've been working with, what they did is, for example, They do a frequency count of all the calls that come in the call center, and then they work on how to design this call out. And there was one example, 2-3% of all calls were about this ATM ate my credit card. Or this credit card doesn't work at a point of sale anymore. There's something wrong with the chip. There's something wrong with the card. And hey, we as a bank, we know if the ATM eats the credit card, we know this, and we can say with 99.9+% of probability, this customer will call us in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 days and ask for a replacement card. So we know that. So why do we wait for the call? So what they've done is the minute the system recognizes a card is faulty, a card was withheld by an ATM, they send out a push message to that customer. Dear customer, we understand your card was withheld at the airport ATM. What we will do is we will send you a new replacement card within 3 working days. And if you don't want that card, please respond with N. So with this very simple change in system, they're saving now thousands and thousands of calls. They're saving a lot of money. And actually customers like it. It's so much better, isn't it? Okay, so then you can see here, it's a mix of very high-end technology, but also smart thinking on how do you design customer contact and fail points out of our service processes and service products. So this was the first dimension, the tangible versus intangible. The next dimension is sort of, what is the core value of the service? Is it really emotional and social, or is it more cognitive and analytical? So what you can see on this chart here is that service processes that are cognitive and analytical of any degree of complexity will be delivered by robots and AI. That's what they do, what they're best at, and they can smile the whole day without getting tired. Yeah? Now, for emotional and social value propositions, this is really where people are important. Some people even talk about what we call the feelings economy. So future jobs in the service sector will be a lot more about feelings and emotional intelligence and connecting with customers here. Because, hey, I don't want to scream and excited with a robot. I need another person to do this with me. Okay? So this is really the forte of the future of the workforce is emotions and feelings and personal connection. Now you can see when it becomes cognitively very complex and emotionally very complex. This is really the space where we will see more and more people-robot teams delivering service. I can give you one example. I believe healthcare of the future will be a mix of people, professional healthcare employees and doctors, and a lot of AI and technology in the background here. And to give you one example, my daughter was visiting us here in Singapore, and she lives in Munich. And when she came back to Munich, she got fever, very high fever, and she went to her doctor, and the doctor actually had no idea what this fever could be. But my daughter says, look, listen, I just came from Singapore. My parents had dengue fever, and I think it is dengue. Can we do a blood test for dengue? And then the doctor said, sure. But for that doctor, and it was dengue, by the way, but for that doctor, she had never seen a dengue case before because there is no dengue in Munich. It was very interesting. She was transferred to the tropical diseases unit of a university hospital in the end because nobody else could treat dengue in Germany. But I just want to show you here, in the future, let's say 10 years from now in America, if you are a general practitioner and you misdiagnosed something important which an AI could have picked up but you didn't pick up because it's a rare disease, for example, I'm sure they can sue you for malpractice. So in future, you will have the doctor at the interface with the patient, but then an AI running in the background that will look at all the patient data and listen and observe even the conversation you have with the patient and pick up the key things there, and then will develop a hit list of potential diseases for the doctor to check. So if that AI comes back and then says, look, I really think this is probably dengue fever. There's a 99.9% probability or match with dengue, and then there's a 97.8% of something else, then the doctor can talk to the patient and say, look, all the symptoms you have, they're highly congruent with dengue. Have you been to the tropics recently? And if the patient says yes, okay, let's do a dengue test. Okay, so you can see where we're going here with this. So most of the standard stuff will be delivered by robots, issuing tickets, issuing credit cards, making reservations. I mean, all of that, you don't need people, and customers will prefer, just like they prefer the ATM today. Really, emotions and social type of services, they still will be people. And then, of course, people, robot teams for all the really, truly complex stuff. And that probably includes education. We have many things students will learn alone with a holograph, with an online system, but still it's nice to then have a human who accompanies you on your learning journey. Now, that's what's the second dimension. The third dimension is really how often does it happen? And each time, how similar or different is that process? And you can see here on this chart, if something happens a lot and each time is the same, this will be robot-delivered services, like room service, like a barista in a coffee, like carrying your baggage at the airport, and so on. This will all be robots. On the other hand, if each time the process is different and there's not a lot of volume, this will really be people. Robots are, at least for the next 10, 15 years, not sophisticated enough to do that. And I'll give you one example here. If you're the handyman in a hotel, you have to be able to unlock closed doors, unlock safes, fix a carpet, fix a drawer, do something on the faucet, change a light bulb. So it's so varied that for the foreseeable future, we will need people to do that. But then you see in between again, it happens regularly, but not that often. For this, we again will have service robot teams. And this will be a little bit in the Industrial Revolution, which first started. These are the very difficult, dangerous jobs people don't like to do. So you're motivated to actually use automation to help improve life for your people. And here, I mean, Japan is actually most advanced in their healthcare system. Japan is rapidly aging as a society. Nurses and doctors also are getting older, yes. And I mean, it is very heavy lifting, literally heavy lifting, to move patients from beds into wheelchairs. And in Japan, more and more and more hospitals, they have the nurse working with the robot. The robot does the heavy lifting and lifts the patient out from the bed into the wheelchair, from the wheelchair into the bathtub. You can see how this will come together. And what we discussed here are sort of physical processes, like working with a patient or fixing a light bulb. But we also have information type processes. And this whole line, at what time robot AI will be more effective, actually comes down for intangible processes. And why? Because, let's say, if I need a reservation system for a spa in a hotel chain, there are many other spas that have the same problem. The hotel has many, many hotels across the world and many, many spas. There's so much volume that I actually can design a solution that can be then modularized and adapted for a particular hotel, but the technology is developed for the whole chain. Then only the individual hotel specifies how many spa rooms, how many therapists do I have, what are my opening hours, and connected to pricing and reservation system. And so then it works. So even though every hotel may only have 30, 40 bookings a day, I still can fully automate it, because across my whole hotel chain, I have tens of thousands of bookings a day. So we discussed the 3 dimensions that determine whether or not you should automate a process. Let me also say what we're most excited about is really what we call end-to-end automation of customer service processes. The technology to deliver this, interestingly, is becoming more and more flexible. And since ChatGPT was launched, you can see now people are actually getting very excited what technology can do. ChatGPT is very new, and already people are so impressed. You wait a little bit longer, I mean, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, you can see where we are going with this technology, how flexible customer service interfaces can be. Let me share with you what we call digital person. This is done by a company called Soul Machines, and Soul Machines, they say they're in the business of developing digital people. That means you as a bank, as an insurance company, as a telco, as a university, you can design your own people. You can take the ethnic group you like, you can take the gender you like, you can take the hair color you like, right? So you can put them into your uniforms. You can have a whole team of customer service agents here, so customers can pick who they would like to be serviced. So you can see this is becoming very, very exciting. So I'm sharing with you 𝐩𝐫𝐸. 𝐩𝐸𝐸 is a digital agent serving 𝐴NZ's customers in New Zealand, and she was launched 3 years ago. Okay? And already 3 years ago, I will show you a short video, you can see how 𝐩𝐸𝐸 serviced customers. So let's have a quick look at 𝐩𝐸𝐸.
I'm really pleased to have helped so many people, but I've only just started my banking journey. I still have so much to learn.
We can't believe that it's been 3 months since we launched 𝐩𝐸𝐸, and we're really pleased with how she's going. I think customers generally are loving her. She's had well over 12,000 customer conversations.
Lots of people ask me how to open an account.
She's an evolving piece of work, and so by putting her out into the world, we're able to find out how people are responding to her and what they think and what they want from her.
Hi 𝐩𝐸𝐸, how can I get a new credit card?
I can help you order a new credit card.
As soon as the 𝐩𝐸𝐸 technology was available, there was an expectation that she would be able to answer real-time questions about most topics, and so we're actually doing a lot of work to build in the ability for her to answer real-time things, such as what the FX rates are or interest rates.
Yeah.
This would work a lot more closely to the way people are actually asking us questions.
I think what we're hearing from the public is we want her to be able to do our banking for us. We want her to be able to give us much more comprehensive answers.
Thanks for asking.
And for us, that's the exciting next step.
I need to open a new savings account. Would you be able to help me with that?
To make her much more helpful and much more knowledgeable about current banking information.
Since launch, you've been available to customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How are you coping with the workload?
It's nice of you to ask, but I'm a digital entity and I don't need to sleep. But sometimes, when no one is talking to me, I watch cat videos on YouTube. Don't tell 𝐴NZ I said that.
So now you met 𝐩𝐸𝐸, and I promise you, 𝐩𝐸𝐸 already is on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. 𝐩𝐸𝐸 will be on all types of self-service technology machines and bank branches. 𝐩𝐸𝐸 will at some point, I promise you, also be beamed from the ceilings in a bank branch as a holograph, welcoming you to the branch, chatting with you what you want to do and guide you to what is the right counter and how to do that service. So this will be 𝐩𝐸𝐸 in the future. And at the same time, as the metaverse becomes more and more popular, I promise you, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies, universities, they will deliver service through the metaverse. So you put on your metaverse goggles and you go in and you have a meeting with you and your husband or your wife and talk to your financial consultant in the metaverse, in a real meeting room, and they can even show you why they talk to you in the metaverse. Look, these are the statistics, and this is the product, and these are the features, and this is how it works. I mean, I think you can get the picture where we are going with all of that technology, right? Now, what we are excited about is scalable. Scalable means incremental costs are close to zero. So it almost doesn't cost me very much to serve another customer. These costs are so low that I can give the service away for free, and it's basically only advertising financed. I can do this. Google has been, to me, the world champion in this game. Google has a lot of products, and you look at Google Search as one, of course, their most important products because it generates the most advertising revenue. And billions of customers use Google every day. Many, many advertisers and also publishers and content creators interact with Google every day. And Google makes tens of billions of dollars of revenue every year. And then you ask, so they probably need an army of service employees to service customers. And no, Actually, it is very few operational headcount. Google has an allergy against operational headcount. If you are a manager in Google and you think you need to hire someone to deliver customer service, you face an uphill battle. Google doesn't like to hire operational people. The question is, hey, can you design a self-service technology customers can use themselves? So it's self-service. It is scalable. It doesn't cost anything. You need a few $1 million to do that. It's fine. Yeah. So I hope you can see again where we are going with this. We want solutions that don't need people to serve customers. People interact with the technology and do self-service. And Google truly is the champion here. So now I shared with you the first part of my presentation. That's the big picture. Where does customer service firms go with the technology, with the service revolution we see today here? Now let's focus on the second part of my presentation, which really looks at, hey, what are the strategic implications of all of that? What will do all of that do for us as a service firm? I mean, many of you are senior managers, you're captains of industry. What does that mean for your business? So let me share my thoughts with this and a few insights here. So let me first say, we are looking at services being automated, end-to-end automated. And my first prediction is, just like in the Industrial Revolution, we will see a massive concentration of service markets. I mean, before the Industrial Revolution, we had thousands of car manufacturers, millions of craftsmen doing leather handbags, for example. After the Industrial Revolution, there was a massive concentration because now it's a few companies that deliver great masses of goods, and we don't need the individual craftsmen anymore. So the same consolidation will happen in most service markets. You think about it, Google Maps. There's one Google Maps that delivers the world. And then there are a few maybe minor secondary players here. So I tell you, given that Google Maps is available for free, I mean, it's advertising funded, right? In the future, there might be a Maps app that can be delivered to you at a very small fee, but without advertising. I mean, all of the business models here and the value capture ideas, they change. But fact is, one Maps can serve the world. Yeah, that means if you want to enter that business, you have to be differentiated. You have to do something else. So we had Facebook as a social media network, and Facebook covered the world here. So if you want to be in social media, you can't do a Me Too on Facebook. You have to have a very differentiated offering, for example, like LinkedIn for professional services, like YouTube for videos. So everyone has their own sort of niche and core value proposition. But for a specific application, there is not room for many competitors. So we really see a massive consolidation of all our industries. The same is true. You think about it, how many companies do we need to do who develop digital people? How many retail solutions do we need? How many counter staff and solutions for airports do we need? So my prediction is that every market will have 1, 2, 3, 4 vendors, and that is it. Everyone will go out of business. Yeah? And this is not only, I mean, we have for intangible services like credit cards, like telco. I mean, for example, telecommunications, communications. We have Zoom, we got WhatsApp. There are a few of these apps here that cover the world. If you want to enter this market, it's going to be very difficult. You have to be differentiated again, which is getting harder and harder. Yeah? So for intangible services, if markets are open, meaning regulation allows, let's say for credit cards, for telco, for insurance products, every regulated market, you will have only 1, 2, or 3 vendors, and that is it. That's for intangible. Some services are sort of mixed tangible and intangible, like Uber, like Airbnb. Yes, the booking, is the reservation, the payment are all intangible, but then there's sort of a peer-provided physical aspect to it. So somebody picks you up, somebody gives you a room. Yeah, and these services are a mix, but you can see the platform itself. Again, how many Airbnb type or Didi type or Uber type platforms do I need? It's very, very few. So even for physical services like baristas, like cocktail mixing, like room service robots, there will be a few vendors only. So we will see a massive concentration and consolidation of the entire service sector, just like we saw in the Industrial Revolution. I mean, even, I keep joking with my students, I say, look, even for hairdressers, I promise you, at least the guys, in a few years we go into a hairdressing salon, there will be a smart mirror, we look into the mirror, the AI will analyze your hair, analyze your head, and then show you, overlay on the smart mirror, what you could look like with a different haircut. And you can then swipe and click what you like, and then robots will come and do your haircut. But again, the whole thing will be so technology heavy that the independent, small hairdressing salons will not be there anymore. This will be a bit like McDonald's or 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐸 or any of these big chains here, where you have one big company. They may do franchising and so on, but all the systems and all the technology is going to be centrally developed and centrally produced and rolled out globally. So massive concentration, many small businesses will completely go out of business, and there will be massive big companies. So the second implication is that these scalable, end-to-end automated, globally available services will be highly productized. Meaning you have a few standard options. You can't do anything beyond those options. You will not be able to do that much customization. And think about what we see in the App Store today. These apps usually address a particular problem. In settings, you can customize a little bit, but that is it. You think of today, Google Maps, Google Scholar, Google Mail, Google Search. These are all highly productized solutions that are tailored to a specific need. And that will also be the future of the service sector. So productization means you really specify all the options, all the personalization that is possible. So it's completely developed on what it can do. So it's going to be specified. Because branding will be very important here, and then also pricing will be standardized. So we will have a very highly designed solution for each of these services. I teach in my MBA program services marketing, and we have a whole section on managing people for service success. And the challenge for the last 50 years almost has been, how do I motivate thousands and thousands of frontline employees to deliver the brand promise to our customers in these millions and millions moments of truths we have, right? So you could carve out a competitive advantage by being better at hiring better employees. So you're better at attracting and selecting the right employees. You're better at training them. You're better at organizing them into high-performance teams. You're better at motivating them and developing them. Now, in the future, a lot of customer service will be fully automated, delivered by technology. That means the skills of running thousands and thousands of employees will not be a competitive advantage anymore. So what you need now is you need very few highly skilled employees who can perfect smart self-service technologies. So the name of the game is to have frictionless onboarding of customers, frictionless customer journeys, robust services that are customer error tolerant. So even if customers make mistakes, these services still deliver because we don't have people to back up. Customers have to self-service. So you can see the skill set you need completely shifts to a few highly professional, very smart, very creative employees and away from running thousands and thousands of frontline people. So service itself will not be a differentiating factor anymore. The next implication really is that we develop low-cost, high-quality mass markets for services. Today, you look at Google Maps as an excellent service. It does exactly what I need when I drive and where I find and what I do, right? So it's really top-notch quality. You look at Coursera, you look at YouTube. I mean, my kids, they're young adults now, they use YouTube for everything. When they moved out from the home, they didn't know how to run a washing machine. Yes, so you go to YouTube, you watch a 3-minute video exactly on the washing machine you have, and it teaches you what to do. So there is a mass market that is very cheap, free in many cases. And so the people-delivered service, in a way, will become a handcrafted luxury segment of the market. And this is the same that happened in the goods industry, what the Industrial Revolution did. You think about it, before the Industrial Revolution, if a lady wanted to buy a handbag, a leather handbag, she had to save for months, if not years, to buy that handbag. And then this one handbag was used for a lifetime. After the Industrial Revolution, today middle class all over the world can buy every month a new handbag. That is fine, whatever the heart desires here. Why? Because the real price of a handbag has completely collapsed. With real price, I mean how many minutes or hours someone has to work to pay for that handbag. And that has happened for almost all physical goods. Prices collapsed for the mass manufactured segment. But of course, we still have handcrafted handbags, right? We still have Hermes and Louis Vuitton. And you still have to work many, many hours or months to pay for handbags like these. So what happened is, it's not that the Louis Vuitton has become so much more expensive in real time. Actually, in real dollars, it probably hasn't become more expensive. Today, you have to work as many hours to buy a Louis Vuitton handbag as you had to work before the Industrial Revolution for a normal handbag. So that means the mass manufactured goods, real prices collapsed, whereas the handcrafted, the price moved up with labor costs together. So I think for services, we will see the same thing. The cost differential between mass manufactured and handcrafted will just explode, simply because the mass manufactured will come down. I mean, I am in a university. We deliver very personalized, high-cost MBA transformational experiences. But I promise you, in 5 years and 10 years, you will have top-notch quality MBA programs that are probably completely delivered online, in the metaverse, maybe partially online with local discussion groups where you meet face-to-face, and they can be a fraction of the cost of our MBA program. Yeah? So as a business, you really have to say, where is my positioning? Do I go into the online, automated, scalable part of the business, which, as we said before, is likely to concentrate? We have so many universities now that deliver MBA programs. My prediction is most of them will go out of business. We don't need so many anymore. And so this is for the mass market. The automated market will have a few top-notch quality vendors. And why? The economies of scale are just fantastic. I mean, the cost of developing a high-quality module can run into $1 million plus. So that means automatically the more students I have to use that, the lower the unit cost. And that means there will be some big players that own that market. We don't know yet who that will be. We have the publishers like Pearson Education pushing in, Harvard Business School Publishing pushing in. We have some universities that push in, like Harvard, for example, like Arizona State University. But we also have new entrants in the education tech business here, like Coursera, Khan Academy, edX. So these are some of the vendors. We don't know yet who will win that market. It's a bit like at the Industrial Revolution. We did not know there were thousands and thousands of car companies. We didn't know who would survive and who in the end would be big. So same here. But on the other hand, we still have the handcrafted luxury segment. So here the question as a university you can ask yourself, or any service business you can ask yourself, is there value still in personal face-to-face delivery of that service, even if that costs many times the mass manufactured service? So if yes, you can position on that too, but there will be, again, the market will be small, the luxury end will be small compared to the mass market. So the markets will develop very much like the goods industry, few mass manufacturers, and then also a few bespoke small luxury manufacturers. Everyone in the middle, I think, will have a very hard time. So we discussed that people and service delivery is not going to be a competitive advantage anymore because it will all be delivered by technology. And then the bad news is that even technology is not going to be a differentiating factor anymore. So you can't position on technology. And why? Because technology will just be like today's ATMs for banks. No bank produces its own ATM, or no retailer produces their own point-of-sale systems. They buy from the same companies, from NEC and other technology providers. And that means automatically, as a bank, you can't say, I have better ATM. It doesn't work. Yeah? We all have the same ATMs, so we can't differentiate on it. And the same will happen to all of the customer service technology we're developing here now. I mentioned one company called Soul Machines, and they're what they call in the business of digital people. So you design your digital frontline stuff, and you buy it, and your competitors buy it, so you can't really differentiate on it. And you can see, for you as a service business, what then will be the core of your own strategy? And that's really going to be on your value proposition, frictionless customer service, your brand. You know, these are the things you focus on, but not people anymore and not technology anymore. That will be fully commoditized. In a sense, if you have it, you're in the game. You don't have it, you're out anyway. You have it, you're in the game, but you're not yet differentiated. So you have to hunt for other things to really capture the market. And my prediction is that branding will be very important. First mover advantage will be very important, because once you have an app or you have a service, why do you switch? I mean, for example, I use a fintech called Witz out of the UK, is a unicorn, so they have a market cap of a few $1 billion here. And I mean, if a second or third fintech comes out, unless they have a differentiated value proposition, why do I switch? Yeah, and interestingly, Witz is an interesting company. Witz cut my finance cost by over 98% compared to my online bank. I use it for international payments, for receiving money internationally, and my old bank, also online, but they charge me money for every non-euro that comes into my account. They have bad exchange rates. They charge commission on top of these exchange rates. Now Witz and Revolut, they're the two main players in this market here. They give you fair exchange rates, and there's almost no fee attached to it. So the cost is a fraction. And interestingly, talking about automation, I have been using this company maybe for 2 years now. I get money out of Hong Kong. I pay my developer in India. I get some payments out of the US. So I've been using it for not so simple stuff. It's for all my financial needs here. And guess what? In all of this time, even when opening the account, I've never emailed and I've never spoken to a human employee. All I did is work with the app and the website. This is when we talk about end-to-end automated services. But the thing is, you can see that all of the technology used by this service company here is available to every single competitor. So to differentiate, you have to think of something else. And here I think customer centricity, frictionless journeys, customer error-tolerant apps, and so on become critical. Another and extremely good implication of this whole service revolution is that our standards of living will increase. Currently, services like healthcare and education are scarce and expensive, and they will be widely available almost to zero incremental cost globally. And let me give you one example. The way out of poverty in most countries is through education. So we really need education to give skills to the world, to help people learn, to help people make a living. And currently this is unaffordable. But you think about technology like Khan Academy, Coursera, edX, YouTube. These are all already available. All you need is have internet and some terminal or access a phone or a tablet or something to connect. And you can already today learn almost anything without spending money. So it's quite amazing what you can do. And this at the moment is still very, what I would call primitive technology we have. This technology, I promise you, for example, language education. So if you want to learn English, or you want to learn Mandarin, or you want to learn French, currently if you go to a tutor, these courses cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. I promise you, give us 3 years, and you will have a completely immersive language training on the metaverse. You put on your goggles, you have your virtual language trainer educator who can really personalize and customize, can listen to your pronunciation, practice with you to improve your pronunciation, listen to how you use the language and help you to improve the use of the language. And the exciting thing is, look, if you learn French, you can, with your French instructor, travel to the Champs-Élysées, to a bistro, to a cafe, have a cafe and a croissant, order in French, speak to the waiter in French. So you're immersive in that situation, in that context, and you learn French at the same time. The next thing, you go into a business meeting or you go at the airport. I think you see where we are going here with this. You can really have a very experiential, immersive education experience, and that will be true for virtually everything. And the nice thing about this is, it is digital instructors who deliver these classes to you in this environment. That means the incremental costs are going to be very, very minor. So that you can again see here, to develop that language school will cost you millions and millions. But like Google, hundreds of millions and millions can then use it and learn, improve. And I mean, I'm confident that this will again completely revolutionize education in almost anything. And again, as we said before, how much space for how many language schools do you have here? How many French, Mandarin, English language schools do you think will exist with this type of investment, that type of scalability? You will see that currently we have thousands of Mandarin, thousands of French language schools. They will not survive. There will be the mass manufactured end on the metaverse or over an app or on a website that will be top-notch quality and that will have economies of scale and will be unbeatable in terms of price and quality. And then, of course, there are still people who prefer, let me learn from a human tutor, but in relative terms, that may be 100, 1,000 times more expensive than the AI-delivered language class. But hey, that's the luxury segment, as we discussed before. Now you can see I'm really enthusiastic about the service revolution, and I shared a lot of advantages. But I mean, look, the Industrial Revolution brought us pollution, initially at least terrible factory work for the workers compared to the craftsmen before. Similarly, even the service revolution will have challenges for us to overcome. And I mean, market concentration, dehumanization, lack of meaning of life, you know, all of these issues need to be mitigated. And sort of the core concept people talk about here is corporate digital responsibility. And so as companies, we have to look at the potential negative consequences of the service revolution. And corporate digital responsibility, or CDR, really looks at the ethics and fairness and privacy related to all of those technologies. So let me talk about ethics first. Look, if there's only 1 or 2 global map applications here, and they put an unfair, for customers not beneficial privacy policy and other things in there, you can't opt out because, hey, there's only 1 or 2 apps or companies that deliver this service. So there's coercion of customers to accept terms of usage and so on. So that can be an issue. The next is the big societal implications. So what if you really don't talk to people anymore? What is about dehumanization, human dignity, old age care, child care and all of that, when we use more and more robots and technology to deliver those? Things like addiction, loneliness, depression. These are all things that can come if we get too immersed in technology. So how do companies deal with that to avoid these negative consequences? The other is we are being nudged, pushed, manipulated. I mean, you don't even know the psychological tricks, apps, and online users to make you do, accept, buy, top up, and so on certain things. So this happens without us being aware of it as consumers and without regulation. So companies do that, and they do that to profit maximize. So these are potential issues here. And the other is a lot of this machine learning is malleable. For example, algorithms on social media were not designed to spread fake news, but they were designed to create engagement. And guess what? If news and things are very sensational, they're very good or very bad, or they're false and fake news, but this is the stuff that gets shared on social media. So the algorithm pick up what gets shared, what gets traction, what gets engagement, and they push that. So then you get the negative part of having fake news all over the place. So that is the ethics dimension. Fairness dimension really focuses, look, if services are automated end to end, the firms basically delegate a lot of decisions now to technology and algorithms. So for example, if I have an end-to-end automated credit card issuing process here, that means decisions like whether I give you a credit card, yes or no, or a car loan or housing loan. So number one, do I give you that loan? Number two, if I give it to you, up to what maximum level? And number three, at what interest rate? And so that means very important decisions are not made by people anymore, but by algorithms. And there were very few very high-profile issues like a bank giving a higher credit line to a customer who is male versus a customer who is female, although all the other data are the same. Just male versus female was a difference in approved loan and risk assessment and interest rate. And we know there are about 8 different types of biases algorithms can have. And what we know is that no algorithm is completely bias-free. So how do we make sure these algorithms are fair and help customers and don't penalize certain customers who fall between the crack and so on? Yeah? So that's the fairness issue. And the last one is the privacy issue. I mean, look, we are interacting with technology. Unlike a human frontline staff, this technology can capture everything. It can read your emotions. It can assess, are you happy or are you unhappy? It can even try to assess, are you cheating or lying? I mean, let's say insurance fraud, credit card fraud, and so on. So this technology keeps track of everything, connects everything, builds variables about you. And I mean, are you treating the customer data, your information you have fairly here? And I mean, one of my friends and co-authors did a research project on fairness, and they looked at eBay. And we were shocked when we analyzed the privacy policy of eBay. Do you know if you post something on eBay to sell it, you approve to your data to be shared with over 900 business partners of eBay? The privacy policy, to understand this, is over 2 million words. It takes, even if you were a lawyer, it would take you over a week to just read the privacy policy. So is that fair? So, I mean, so corporate digital responsibility really is a big issue we don't quite understand yet. And the issues are getting bigger and bigger as the technology is getting smarter and smarter. So let me sort of wrap up my second part of this presentation. So what are the implications of the service revolution for service strategy? So we talked about scalability, which will lead to concentration of markets. Most players will get out of business. Most service offerings will be highly productized, so we don't have this handcrafted, personalized anymore. It's like an app. There are certain basic functions, that's what you can use. Everything else you want to do won't work. Service itself, having thousands and thousands of staff going forward will not be a differentiator anymore. Service as delivered by people, by masses of frontline people at least, is not being important anymore. There will be a two-sided market, two extremes, low cost and often free, like WhatsApp, Zoom, Google Search, Google Maps. So it will be a mass market, highly industrialized, and the other extreme will be the luxury, handcrafted, high-end, but the price differential will be massive. So the bulk of the market is in the mass, and some small is in the luxury bit of the segment. The next thing is the technology, like people, will also not be a differentiator anymore because you buy the technology from technology vendors and so do your competitors, so it's the same for everyone. So you have to look for other things to differentiate yourself. The good news is standards of living will increase. So currently we see already you don't have money, but you still can do video conferencing with your loved ones all over the world. Yeah? That's free. 20 years ago, it was very expensive. Today, Zoom, WhatsApp is free. You can learn anything, almost anything on YouTube, on Coursera. So a lot of these things are free. And so a lot of services, especially healthcare and education, which are, to me, probably the most important services, will become much more widely available. And you may think healthcare, how? I mean, there are apps already today on your smartphone, and they use the camera and the microphone to help you diagnose illnesses. So there's one company out of Australia that connects all of this, and you can cough into the microphone, and the app can tell you whether you have COVID or whether it's tuberculosis or whether it is just a cough. You can put it on your pulse, it can look at the oxygen level. You can put the camera at your skin, it can diagnose you. So a lot of basic stuff will be available for almost for free. And you can actually connect those apps to clinics and so on. So here in Singapore, since COVID, we have a lot of telemedicine. So you do a bit of self-diagnosis on your phone on a healthcare app. If you have questions, you connect to a doctor on Zoom or something, so it's via video. And the doctor does a diagnosis, and online can give you your medical certificate, online can issue you medicine, which then gets delivered to your home from a pharmacy. So you can see you can combine also physical and app. So the standards of living will increase. A lot of services that currently are expensive will become a lot cheaper, and that is the same as for the Industrial Revolution with goods. And the last point we discussed was, so what are the downsides of the service revolution? And we discussed about ethics and fairness and privacy and corporate digital responsibility. I mean, these are real threats to us as humans, and we will have to work on them. I also believe there will be a massive job of regulators to come in and prevent companies from exploiting humanity too much for profit motives. So, I hope you enjoyed this masterclass on the service revolution and implications for service strategy here. Let me also say these are precisely the topics we teach in our executive MBA and MBA courses. And the nice thing you will see about a business school is that we don't just do rah-rah. You know, a lot of the stuff we have is really backed up by evidence and by solid academic research. And for myself, on these topics, I published my first paper on service robots in 2018. And that has been my fastest cited and most successful paper I've ever published, because we were the first to talk about service robots really in the service literature here. And you can see, if you go to my ResearchGate account, you can download also the book we wrote on intelligent automation. So you can see we have a lot of research. The book, by the way, you can download for free from my ResearchGate. If you like, you just look at the QR code here. But also there is a lot of other academic research we published on this topic. And I'm so happy to be part of the business school here, because you will see every professor, whether they teach you blockchain or they teach you strategy or they teach you digital transformation, that is where their passion and their research is. So on this note, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope I see you at NUS Business School at some point.